In the light of victory, I am come, and it is with the victorious sense of the absolute purity of God that I seek to define holy purpose for each and every one. For within the dimensions of our retreat at Luxor, as in the flame itself, there wisdom, as the mother of the world, defines holy purpose and teaches the soul the refining nature of God. You have God potential, but it will be of no use to you, no more use than the gold hidden in the hills, lest you determine to mine it, to bring it forth, and to focus. You may have potential all over the table, but unless you focus on that point of the release of the fire of action, you will go nowhere. And therefore, for all the good intentions, let us be about our Father's business. I possess the understanding of the military strategy of this nation. I know how the armed forces ought to be armed and disarmed, especially of the burdensome beasts of drugs and marijuana that beset all ranks of the service of this nation. I know how the planetary momentum of fallen ones can be defeated before the year 2001. And I know that this nation can survive, but will only survive if there is the mobilization of spiritual forces and a new morale and a love that intensifies rather than diminishes in the face of any obstacle. I am Serapis. I have known every battle. I have stood nose to nose with the enemy, and I have pressed forward, and he has fallen back. Blessed hearts, whenever you impose upon yourself a discipline of love for a higher manifestation of that same love, know that I am there reinforcing your will. Do not leave this dictation and allow yourself to fall in to the ruts of sameness. I come for a piercing and a perception and a knowing, and I ask you to allow yourselves to go where God goes to solve these problems that have beset this nation far too long. I would pick up the thread of Lord Lanto and Confucius and say, it is our determined desiring out of God's desiring to see you reinforcing one another rather than scattered to the four winds. It is our desire that you contemplate the sharpening of the sword of ascension's fire, for the piercing of the veil, and for that concerted effort which only a new company and a larger company can accomplish. We would like to see the teachings going forth from this heart to devotees perpetually, for we have that much to give. And there ought to be the coming and the going here in rotation, as some are on the road and in their service, and others tarry. The flow of the word itself is the greatest means to the staying action of the Lord concerning the mounting tide of darkness. The flowing of the word is that point which becomes the counterpoint to each move of the dark men on the chessboard of life. Let us realize then that we are thousands strong, but without number, for we are one. I see among you souls whom I touched and sent forth to win the prize of ascension's goal. And here you are, decades later, and you know who I am and where I am. I am desirous, therefore, of seeing the same measures taken, the universities, the education, and especially the realization that as in economics, so in the military, so in the guarding of a nation, the strategy can be defined, the sons of God can be raised up, and the leaders who are born can be made into those who will cut through. And cutting through is something that has become most difficult for our best servants, who, though they serve, come against those obstacles, those walls as thick and hard as ever a wall could be, and without the understanding of the intercession, the factor of intercession, they are turned back. And therefore in many areas of the nation, the wheels have come to a grinding halt, and hearts once hopeful and pure and determined have become discouraged. The twin flame of Gabriel, Archei, expanding the world consciousness of hope, would call upon you to represent the armed forces of the fiery white corps of the legions of light, to bring hope to every servant of God who came with a flaming mission and is stopped to the right, to the left, before and even in retreat. Dear hearts, have pity upon those who are called and are willing and yet cannot move against this Nephilim superstructure that is found. Let the judgment call ring from this heart. Let it go forth, and let there be received by all from the heart of the Almighty the ringing truth that the Holy Spirit is nigh for the deliverance. And you ought to make those calls that seem the unanswerable and therefore are not made. You ought to send forth the cry, both to heaven and earth, for reinforcements, and to see that we are prepared and we can deliver the mandate of the age. Sons of light going forth, remember that the changes that must come are vital in the areas of the flow of supply and demand, where jobs are lost, where the money is manipulated, where those in the armed forces do not have the true vision of the nation. there is a gradual decline in the consciousness of a whole nation which can infect a world. Let hope go forth, and let hope be reinforced by the works of your hands, and by one beating heart that we offer to Helios and Vesta. Let us request that the cult of the Mother be embraced in hearts. Let us determine for Christ's sake to let our decrees roll for the binding of abortion and the abortionist. Let us perceive that hearts in Poland yet require the stand and the conviction, and that all that we build here must become the hope of displaced persons all over the world who can no longer find the fulfillment of the inner blueprint in their nations, in their respective situations. In addition to being a military strategist and a disciplinarian, I am also an architect of the new age. Therefore, I see how it is necessary to begin the building of the Mother House at the Inner Retreat, a permanent sanctuary year-round, an all-purpose meeting room, and a place where students may come and reinforce our will. We see the drawing in of our various focuses and the duplication of their services here. We know that the rays of Shambhala from the heart of the Buddha will draw those souls that have hitherto found their way through the cities, even to this very address. Movements in the earth prior to this conference are simply another sign of the changes that are in order. And I dare say that you will scarcely escape publicity, good or bad, which to our way of thinking has one beneficial note, and that is the alerting of the light bearers that we are indeed here. I tell you, nothing in all the world will stop the sending of the message that the place of great encounters is physically established. As the seasons roll and the winter comes, it will be necessary each year before the frost to lay the foundation of a new building and another, so that during the long months, work may proceed inside, and with the coming of spring, a new opportunity for more of the followers of God to take up their abode for a season and learn more of the inner life at the Inner Retreat. Why the mountains themselves insulate your hearts from the burdens of world condemnation of Christ. And every living tree is a transformer, transmuting hate and hate creation by the power of the pine devas into the love of life that continues to rise and rise, adding new branches and green shoots each year in utter defiance of the opposing force, not life but death, as nature pulls against the gravity of earth and reaches for the magnetism of the sun, so stalwart sons find in every tree an altar of the flaming ones. How green is this valley, how truthful the elementals. How wondrous is the testimony of Christ as a witness. The altitude itself forces all who would move against the light to have to mount far above the altitude levels of most of the world's major cities. Thus you see, the beginning of the battle is much higher here than it is at sea level and below, and therefore much is already accomplished, and the new day begins at the highest level of a new awareness and a new purpose. I am saying then, the city to be built as the city of God, consisting of those focuses that shall perform the purposes in time and in space that are now being performed by the teaching centers, will manifest as the repositories of the world's wisdom and culture and science, and of the chelas as well. And by the time you have seen the plan of the geography of this land and the placement of those focuses, you will see that in miniature there can be established here shrines of the nations and focuses for the keeping of the flame of those nations and their peoples here, and by the rays of Shambhala to extend that force of harmony, anchoring then in the physical points of the major shrines in those respective cities. For the time may come when it may no longer be safe for our chelas to be in certain areas of the world for many reasons. Electric Peak is not so named without reason, though it is considered so called because of the lightning storms that are so frequent. We ourselves recognize the magnetism of the mountain as a point we can use in conjunction with other focuses within these mountains for the sendings of the heart of the Buddha. Therefore, one will see a great alchemy as the former mansions, the former homes dedicated as Mary and Martha of Bethany, become useful buildings for multifold and manifold purposes here at the inner retreat. We desire then to see the acceleration of the planning, even for this fall and winter and spring. For the years pass quickly, and the seasons must be obeyed, for the cycles of nature have a dominant will, all their own, set in motion by solar forces. And man must learn to take dominion, and therefore to create the abodes within the mountain, resting upon solar and geothermal energy, and the wind and the water, and the knowledge of the sine wave. And thus, little by little, man confounds the immutable laws of nature, and himself becomes a law, and a higher law of expression, where within his own science he may experience the beauty of summer in the long night of winter. Take dominion over the earth is the cry of Elohim, as God gave to twin flames the beauty of a new planetary home. We give to you, and you have given to us a magnificent opportunity the cycles turn, and the exchange of the outer for the inner is ongoing between the inner retreat and our outposts throughout the world. I remember well when the first rumblings of the sinking of Atlantis were present, for as you know, the sinking of that continent came in stages. By the grace of God, the warning given allowed many to escape. And we made our way to Luxor, even as the great divine director appointed the focuses in Transylvania and in the islands of the Caribbean. And therefore the bearers of the flame carried the flame from those shrines in the temples before the destruction came, for the beginning over again of a new force field and a continuity with no interruption to the flow of life. You may wonder why a spiritual flame requires transporting by mere mortals. It is always so that children of the light tend to think that such things ought to happen magically and miraculously. Perhaps a touch of the fairy tale has spilled over into religion, and people have forgot that all that has been wrought by God and man has been the joint work and effort above and below. I will tell you then why it is so. Because the only place that the flame can truly abide, apart from the altar so dedicated, is the living heart of the living adept. For you see, the bearer of the flame may not enter into any internal inharmony. Surface burdens may come and go, but the ship must plow through the wind and wave, and thus surface flutters do not move the flame, but the deep, unresolved, inner emotional conflicts that cause the more grave psychological problems are an index that a certain life stream is not fit to bear a flame. And thus, if there had ever been a flame, it should have been snuffed out by the very force of the conflicting currents and the discord exploding from within. Thus you see the responsibility for bearing Ascension's flame and bearing it in honor and harmony. The harmony of the heart and the resolute will in dominion of the four lower bodies qualifies the flame bearers coming from all continents and nations to bring their portion and the focuses from their altars. Understand then that the bearing of our flame to this place is through the heart of the messenger, and you yourself may add your portion of devotion to the central flame, that the flame of the ascension might not go out on earth in the sense of the physical octave. And in that octave, we rely heavily upon our chelas to remember that the price of each one's ascension and that opportunity for future generations rests with the dedication of our priesthood to the keeping of the white fire flame of honor, mother, integrity, purity, beauty, discipline, geometry, and the divine architect's shaping of all things. Out of the white fire of Alpha and Omega, I also stand, and I implant my flame here. And I desire to add my own to the flame of the Lord of the world, Gautama Buddha. Truly his canopy rests over this place, and already in answer to your call, unascended masters form rings of light around that throne of the Lord of the world. Thus, beloved, in all my holy mountain is the fulfilling of the word. We then would see a multiplying of the laborers and the many hands, and the call given again and again for the divine blueprint of our retreat. The great divine director stands waiting to release out of his causal body those individual thought forms that are for the blueprint of the race and each individual's smiling face. In the flame of Serapis, I bow before you, for the office I hold bears also the title by which I am known. Thus the flame of Serapis is the flame of my office, and the one by which the seraphim are commanded. By the authority of the word vested in me, I send forth in the four quadrants of this nation, by the arms of the cosmic cross of white fire, new hope, new life, new discipline, new strategy for each and every branch of the armed forces, for those who are in the Pentagon, in this government, who are sons of light, that they despair not, and behold how by the Holy Spirit minds are converged into one goal, and the people are healed of the fear of nuclear war and the fear to tackle its problem and its consequences. Let them be healed by the fire of the Universal Virgin. Omega, send thy light, send thy legions in the name of Sanat Kumara. Omega, Mother of lights, come forth now. Send the fervor of thy heart and the washing clean of the sacred fire by the legions of Aramesis and Diana, of all individuals who are the very pillars of civilization, for they are indeed angels from on high who have chosen to put on these garments for the rescue of the children of the light. Unto all foes of the light, in every level I say, you have no power, your day is done. You have no power under the sun to continue the work against the Lord's hosts everywhere. I am Serapis. I am sending the decree of ascension's fire. As it is the light of Alpha and Omega, let it then by Elohim go forth for the consuming then of all unlike this pattern destiny of this race, where Saint Germain here has taken his place to lead America, lead the nations, lead the light bearers, and I say they shall not go down beneath the boot of tyrants or of all of the technology of outer space. Let there be a will, and let the angels of heaven now embrace the angels embodied, and let there be the rolling back of the oppressor, and let that new day of opportunity for the opening of the highway to appear. Remember then, blessed ones, there was an hour when the Red Sea was parted, and all of the children of the light passed through. Had some dallied and said, Well, the sea has parted. I will pass through on the morrow. They would have been caught as the Egyptian persecutors were caught and swallowed up in the sea. Understand then the timing of the miracle and of the opportunity, and realize that we also respect the dates. The highway has been opened. Pass through while there is yet the opening, and find your place in the sun, where the keeping of the flame is above all the most sacred art. Need I say, therefore, considering the consecration of this land, that those who are inharmonious and lacking in even some small portion of the trust of Abraham should not be welcome here, for our work is far too important to entertain those who sin and weep and sin and weep. Theirs is an old story. They do the most they can get away with, and when they are caught, they weep and wail and say, "Give me another chance." Well, I say, I will not give you another chance to besmirch my holy ground, to place upon it the blotches of your infamy. Go to the cities of the earth, go to the plains, and there do what you must do. But leave my holy mountain to the pure, who know the meaning of the word endure, and do so without fanfare or self-attention. There are none of notoriety here. They dwell in the world of ego recognition. Here are the selfless ones, whose eyes shine so brightly that one can scarcely remember their names, for the eyes tell the geometry of the soul and the purity of heart, far more important than an outer label. I am Serapis. Some have said the land rejects those who reject the will of God. Well, it is the land and I, for I stand guard, and I am the guard, and the manifestation of that guard is in the flaming cherubim and seraphs and hosts of the Lord. Thus it is for the dividing of the way. Let the harmonious ones approach. Let the discordant notes retreat, for it is dangerous for them to contact my holy mountain. Now let us build within it and without, and let us see the trailblazers establish the point of invulnerability. The invulnerability of the soul. That is the point where God will make you whole. The right hand of God rolls back the oppressors, and my people in every nation sense the new breath of another day of hope. May God grant them the safe passage. Lord God, as thou granted to me safe passage from Atlantis in thy mission, so I say of all whose hearts I keep, grant them safe passage to the abode of the free. How blessed are ye who see the truth and walk in the light of it, confirming the word day by day. I am Serapis, and I am with you. Ask me how it shall be done, and I will tell all.